Hi, and welcome to CMPB's Speaks for Schools programme. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be chatting with Terence Jarvis. Now, Terence is a health and safety specialist for Syneos Health UK Limited. So he's going to tell us a little bit more about what he does and how he got to that position. So, hi, Terence.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks today.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Something that I've wanted to be a part of, so I'm really excited.
Thank you. So, Terence, first of all, let's start just by finding out what it is you do for a job. What does a health and safety specialist actually do?
Health and safety specialist manages everything health and safety related within a commercial organization. So as an example, we will support the management of first aid provision for all our employees. So it's making sure that we've got adequate coverage to support any emergency as and when they happen, if they do happen. It's also a means of recording information and making sure that all our staff, my colleagues, employees, are safe whilst they're at work within our commercial offices.
And I suppose, and you're based at Syneos, which is in Farnborough, isn't it? So
That's correct, yes.
And I think, it's quite useful to point out that actually every building, every school, every college would have a health and safety specialist. Every office would have a health and safety specialist. This is all going on, but we don't really realise, I guess.
Yes, historically, or as from a traditional aspect, they would have been called building managers.
Right.
Then that transitioned to facilities management, which is where we're currently at. But you're correct, in every commercial organization or any public building that you go into, health and safety is at the top of their agenda. It's making sure that the walkways are safe, there's adequate firefighting provisions in the event of any type of emergency, things of that nature.
It's really quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think when you walk into a public building, you don't really think about things like that. But there is somebody behind the scenes making sure everything is safe for us. That's
correct. So true.
And so then tell us how you got to the job that you're in now.
It's a bit of a journey, actually. I went on a soul searching journey to find myself. Unfortunately, at the age of 15, I lost both parents 3 months apart. So that took me on a spiritual journey to find where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. Some of the path that I felt that I was going to go down, that didn't materialize purely because I was really trying to find myself. I was lost at the age of 15, so I needed to really do a lot of soul searching and rebuild myself essentially. And I was go as far as to say that I'm still rebuilding myself to this day, and that's almost 31 years later.
Yeah.
So it's a lifelong thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that. And that just must be so hard to deal with that, especially at such a crucial age, I think, when you're going through maybe GCSE sort of time and things like that.
Yes, it definitely did impact on my GCSEs. I didn't do as well as I would have hoped to. So it left me with a bit of an uphill sort of battle to really get myself to where I needed to be, work-wise and career-wise. So I found myself working in a commercial organization, doing a bit of agency work. I was actually doing day cleaning for an organization in Pimlico, South London, just near the London Bridge. And it was just a 1-week assignment. And knowing that I was on that soul searching journey to find myself both spiritually and career-wise, whilst I was on that assignment, I was just, I was very observant. I'm an observant person, and maybe from my past, it made me a bit more observant and in touch with myself. So I observed that what other individuals were doing, facilities assistants and things of that nature, and I felt that I honestly can do that. But I didn't have the necessary skills, but I was very confident that if I went on that path to learn, I can do as, what that was at that time and maybe go beyond. And that took me on the path of facilities management. to where I am now.
Wow. And what age was that then? So what age did you leave school? Did you leave after GCSEs and go into cleaning?
I left after my GCSEs, so that's around about 16 years old. And I got into facilities in my sort of just before mid-20s. So I would personally say that would be quite late in terms of your career progression.
But emotionally, you had so much to deal with anyway. So you
I
almost
had so much to do, so my thoughts weren't on, you know, that sort of timeline. I
yeah,
just had to take things a day at a time, a step at a time, until I felt stronger, physically, mentally, and found that clear air where I can actually progress to whatever I thought that I wanted to do in life. Subsequently, it took me on a journey of education.
I mean, that is such an inspirational story when you've told us, something so devastating happened to you at such a young age, but you've actually managed to, through your own, take yourself up the ladder into a facilities manager's role and then health and safety specialist. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Really, really is. And so you work for Syneos Health now. Tell us a little bit about that then. So that's even further, obviously, from facilities management.
Yes. So I found Syneos Health, or Syneos Health found me back in 2016. I was employed as a facilities manager for our Maidenhead office, which was what you would call a flagship building. So it's a 35,000 square foot building, housed around 400 employees. And I became the manager of that whole building. So that was almost it was the pinnacle at that time.
Yeah.
Considering all the training and the education courses that I had gone through prior to that, even being in lower positions, but actually managing the services pretty much the same. That came along, and it was a great experience. It took me to European countries to open and close offices, notably Madrid and Sweden. So that was, a great
Wow.
achievement for myself, to prove to myself that although I didn't have the necessary skills at the beginning of my career, I actually worked my way to that actual point. So that was something of, a self-achievement, if you like. And subsequently, I've just been sort of progressing from there.
And you said that's, because you're observant and you're obviously, as you've come out of your obviously difficult time when you were younger, you've been determined to succeed really, and you have. It's fantastic.
Yes, through tough experiences, it can make you tougher,
Yeah.
and it definitely did so for me. For myself, I wanted to do my parents proud.
Yeah.
They're always around me, and they've, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that they've guided me to this point. So they've helped me to achieve, and what I would say, manifest my dreams and my aspirations.
Wow. And I'm sure they would be extremely proud as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what I would definitely say is, you've got to visualize your dream. Wherever you want to be, you've got to visualize it. Visualizing it is almost a quarter of the way to actually achieving it. Yes, you've got to do the hard work. You have to gain the underpinning knowledge that's required, that's going to help you to get to that step. But if you can actually dream it and believe it, that's almost putting that into the universe. And that's what I did with everything, in terms of traveling, finding myself,
Yeah.
where I felt that I should be, and also being honest. And when I say being honest with myself, and identifying that I didn't have the necessary skills that I needed, which led me to actually gaining those skills.
And that you probably needed time to, like you say, when you're talking about dreaming, and all that sort of things, you're also talking about within yourself. I think not just work related, aren't you? So I can tell you saying that, and I think that's it. You've taken that time, and you've had to do that in order to get to where you are today, really personally, so you could recover over such a devastating sort of teenage period.
Yes, I also actually look towards mentors. I've been very fortunate in the sense that every step of my, through employment, I've always looked towards mentors, and they've took me on, and I learned from them, and that gave me a broad perspective. If you imagine, if you've worked for half a dozen organizations throughout your career, you're going to have potentially half a dozen senior members that you can look towards, and that will help you to take the good from each of those individuals, and that helped me to add a string to my bow.
Yeah, fantastic. And do you think there's anything that you would have done differently? Looking back now, if you could have sort of spoken to yourself at that sort of age, would you have done anything differently?
Um, Looking back now, I'll probably say that I would have liked to maybe enhance my skills further earlier into my career. However, I have to be honest with myself. I had to take a step at a time.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's making sure that you're able to walk before you can run. And being able to walk gives you that foundation that when you are ready to run, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. That is fantastic, and I think there's so many teenagers, young adults out there that might not necessarily be going through what you went through at that age, but similar things. And I think that's so important, isn't it? Looking after yourself, making sure you put the groundwork in on your personal side before.
Definitely. One thing that I held on to is a saying is that I always felt that there was always somebody in a worse position than myself.
Wow.
Now that taught me, as much as tough as things were, that taught me not to totally feel too sorry for myself, because life has to and had to go on. And that's what I would say. There's always somebody worse. So, I've given you a bit of background to, my history and what it's taken for me to get there. It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else's trauma is way different from mine. We can still sort of touch into what those things are, because essentially, whether you've had the support or you've not had the support from maybe family members, we're all in that same position. So it's about trying to be positive. And I look around the world, I've been, there's always somebody that you can speak to. And usually I found that those individuals were strangers.
Yeah.
And I found that strangers were able to tell me a lot of things about myself just from meeting them and speaking over 5 minutes. So and what that did for me is that reinforced what I believed in myself, my good qualities. And it helped me to look at where I needed to do some work on myself in what particular areas to really make myself as best as I could.
Incredible. Terence, you are incredible to be able to turn around and say somebody else is a lot more worse off than me when you've had to go through that at such a young age. So thank you so much for sharing that story with us. It was really, really, really inspirational to hear. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
What's your future hold then? Have you got any aspirations, or what's the plan?
Aspirations. I've actually felt like going back to school in recent times. So yes, I'm in this, in this lovely organization, and they've been very supportive in my career development. And subsequently, I find myself actually embarked on a degree in occupational health and safety. So that's something which I am proud that I'm actually doing, and I'll be even more proud once I've achieved that end result. And what and what I've also learned is every day is a learning day.
Yeah.
So as much as I've I missed that sort of key phase in my in my earlier years, where I would have naturally done further education, maybe gone to university as such. I've actually find that I've got the space to actually do it now, the means to do it, and the drive to do it, which is really great. I'm in a lovely organization. I'm in an area of business that I absolutely love and have a load of passion for, and I'm able to learn with it as well. So
Fantastic. I mean, that is great. And like you say, the company that you work for supporting you through that and allowing you to do it as part of your position that you're in now.
yes, which I'm, really truly grateful for. And what I honestly believe that I brought to the table is I bring that passion and I want to achieve. So I'll,
That's right. I said determination earlier on, but you can see you've got the passion and the
passion,
determination.
determination. Yes, I've got the
Yeah.
determination because, the individuals that I work for, they're actually my audience. I'm tasked
Yeah.
with keeping them safe. So, and I'm very passionate about that. I think at the heart of any organization or business, it's really the people. And
Yeah.
that's what I thrive on. And maybe that's to do with my past, speaking to people. Earlier on in my life, I didn't do a lot of talking. So it's taken me this time to grow in
Yeah.
confidence. And now you can't stop me talking now.
I love it. It's brilliant. It's great. I love hearing it. I mean, you have given so many fantastic bits of advice in our chat, but is there anything, like any final bits of advice you'd like to give to any sort of young students just starting out in their career and making their choices?
What I've acknowledged that sometimes you may have the passion to go down a particular path or go into a particular career. And sometimes you realize that you may not want to do that after you've done a bit more research, in-depth research, and you've gained more knowledge. That might alter your plans. So I would say to any student, yes, it's important that you have some form of direction, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if that doesn't work for you, that's the end.
Yeah.
I felt that there's a lot of pressure put on young adults to know exactly what they want to do when they leave school. And I don't know what the actual percentage is, but oftentimes that doesn't really materialize itself. And the individual then goes down a different direction and finds their true passion or their true path. So I would say to anybody that's at that key stage, don't worry about it. There's a lot of pressure out there in the real, out there in the world, for us to get things right. You don't take too much of that pressure on, because everything will work itself out in the end. As long as you've got the drive and you're open to exploring different avenues, you'll fall into the right place where you were meant to be. And you probably look back after that and probably say as much.
And I think you're the biggest advocate for that because obviously you also don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just have to then. That's great bits of advice and all very very true. What did you want to be before you turned 15 and things dramatically changed for you? Did you have did you have a bit of a plan in place?
I did. It's you're gonna laugh. I actually wanted to be a footballer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very into sports.
Yeah.
Even today, that is definitely my passion. I like to go to the gym. I like to play football, but football was definitely something that I was very good at. I actually did my work experience at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Oh wow, well, that's
So,
cool.
so that was arranged by my school. So I got to, sit down, talk, and speak with the professionals.
Oh, what a great work
And
experience.
it was amazing. I also went and I did trials with Leighton Orient. So I was a budding footballer. I was, first pick in my school team, district leagues. I even had a cousin that actually played for Birmingham City.
Oh right.
So that was my path. Then tragedy came, and I was less passionate about it. I lost the passion. At that time, I didn't know exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
I just felt that I didn't have the passion for that at the time, and it didn't work. But I think years later, I realized that I was hurting.
Yeah.
And I needed to work on myself first, before actually moving on and finding another passion. So what I'll definitely say is that, you know, if you have a passion, there's many passions out there. Sometimes we don't know what our passion is outside of what our first passion may be. So you just got to stay on that journey, and something will present itself for you.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'll say is, you know, life is magical. And as much as I've been through the things that I have, I don't know if I would change it, because I've seen so much magical things along my journey that's kept me strong and kept my spirits high. And it's helped me to manage my feelings overall.
Ah, you are a true inspiration, Terence. Thank you so much. That's been absolutely brilliant hearing your story. Thank you for sharing such an emotional story as well with us. And yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks then.
Appreciate it.